It's now 6:30 and we're here, licensing committee meeting. Good evening, I'm Councillor Mackay and Chairman of Licensing. I welcome you to this meeting. Tonight's proceedings will be webcast live and recorded for playback, but if anybody else is intended to record these proceedings, can you please let me know now? This is not to stop you, but to ensure that those in the room know that this is taking place. If the fire alarm does sound, please remain seated and the Democratic Services Officer will assess the situation and give further instructions on the evacuation of the building if necessary. Are there any apologies?
I believe Councillor Ford is unable to make the meeting. She's away. But I don't know if she's formally sent those in, but she did ask for a sub in our group, so
Okay,
I believe she's on
thank
holiday.
you. So therefore, have we any substitute members? I don't think so. Yeah? Item 3, are there any urgent items? There'll be a no. And are there any visiting members? And that would be no. Are there any disclosures by members or officers? No. Item 6, have any members of the committee been lobbied? Item 7 exempt. I move that all items be taken in public. Is that agreed? All right. Well, items 8 to 15 are minutes of the meeting. I propose that we take them as one item. Yes?
I have some clarification on the first set of minutes I'd like, actually, if you could.
On the first
set.
Then we will take, that's agenda item 8.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Do any members of the comment on the accuracy of the minutes? And Councillor Ziggy?
Okay, yeah. It's just that it's for fit and proper assessment of Hackney carriage and private hire. Am I correct there? That's...
No, at the moment we're doing
page
just
one.
the minutes.
Page 1.
Minutes of previous meetings.
Yeah. So this is page 1, and it's for the fit and proper assessment of
Yep.
Hackney
Okay.
carriage. Well, then at the resolved, it says that the premises licence be suspended pending a full review hearing. So I don't quite understand how we relate a premises to a Hackney carriage. This is page 1 and page 3.
I think probably there was 2 items that went to that licensing subcommittee. One would have been the Hackney carriage item, the driver, which was held privately. And then if you look over the page, the second item is the expedited review of the premises licence, and that, where you see resolved, is the result of that second item. I hope maybe that helps.
It would appear, sorry, it appears to me that para 99, which is on page 1, is incorrect, because that that subcommittee would only have dealt with the expedited review, and that is the correct result of the expedited review on page 3. So I think the minutes would need to be amended at para 99 where the public were not excluded. Oh no, sorry, the public were excluded from that meeting, but it wasn't an assessment of a driver. It was because of the nature of that hearing meant that the public were excluded due to the potential disclosure of personal data at that hearing. So that minute at point 99 should be amended where it says item 7, fit and proper assessment of a Hackney carriage driver. That should refer to the expedited review instead, which did exclude the public, but not because it was a fit and proper assessment, but because that licensing subcommittee did refer to personal data.
That sounds very complicated. All I'm saying is, does a taxi office have to be licensed?
No, it doesn't relate to a taxi
If it
office.
doesn't have to be licensed, why are we saying resolve that the premises licence be suspended pending a full review hearing?
That part is correct. The part that's incorrect is on page 1, where it says fit and proper assessment of a Hackney carriage and private hire dual driver. That should say expedited review of the premises licence.
Of which premises?
That the hop pole.
What they're saying is that it's a spurious, so that's a
Right.
spurious.
Yeah. Well, it's not clear from these minutes what
No,
what
I
the
think
subject
I
is
think
really.
what they're saying is that the first page, page 1, is about the taxi driver, and there's a resolved answer. The next page is about a premises licence,
Yeah.
but it says it at the
But
top,
yeah.
and then the
Okay.
resolved is the premises licence be suspended.
Councillor English,
So
can
I was
I?
saying it's two.
I think there
it's
needs to be
two
some
applications.
clarification. That's all.
Councillor English, what would you like add to this?
I mean, it's quite clear that, and I think the officer has actually explained it, the item minute 99 is erroneously included and should not be there, and it should actually refer to the premises licence at that point, and albeit for the different reason that has been said. There is an error. It's not in pages 2 and 3, which I remember vividly, having been involved in that. It is in paragraph 99, which just needs to be removed and replaced with the correct paragraph. It's not complicated, and I thought the legal officer had explained it quite well.
Are you? Can I ask Councillor Drabinski? Are you content with that response?
Yeah, except that these minutes will need to be changed, won't they? That's all. So
The minutes will be amended.
Yeah, we can't agree on them, so that's what I'm saying.
So we have dealt with item 8 minutes. That leaves the minutes for 9 to 15. Are we content to accept these, or does anybody have any issues? Do members, so I move that the minutes of the Licensing Act 2003 subcommittee meetings held on the 16th of October 2024 be approved as correct record and signed. Is that agreed?
Those ones were the ones to be amended.
Must be subject to amendment. It needs to be changed.
We were talking about items 9 to 15. The minutes 9 to 15.
I think there was a confusion because you mentioned the 16th of October. Yeah. The ones we're agreeing are the 7th of November, the 18th and the 28th, and the 20th of January and the 5th of February, and the 20th of May.
Agenda items 9 to 15.
9 to 15, yeah.
We'll move on to something slightly simpler. Questions. Are there any questions from local residents? I see none, so I take it as a no.
To be pedantic, but no one seconded the movement of the minutes 9 to 15, and we haven't voted on them.
I beg your pardon?
And I will second minutes 9 to 15.
Is the committee agreed that minutes 9 to 15 are agreed? Thank you. Item 17. Are there questions from members to the chairman? Has anybody got any questions from members to the chairman? Hasn't been any. So we move to item 18, Licensing Committee member training. This report will be introduced by John Littlemore, Head of Housing and Regulatory Services. Over to you, John.
Thank you, Chair. Members, you'll be familiar with this report. It comes to you every year. It's a requirement that we approve the training. As far as I understand it, none of our current sitting committee requires training this year, but that doesn't mean that we won't be offering training to for members who want to be substitutes, and if you wish to join, please let our learned legal advisor know, and she will add you to that training. So we're asking members to agree the content of the training is set out in paragraph 2.4, and that all members of the licensing committee and those who want to substitute should complete that training by the 31st of July this year. Thank you, Chair.
Are all members in agreement? Thank you. Item 19. This report will be introduced by Lorraine Neal, Senior Licensing Officer.
Thanks, Chair. Thank you, Chair. This report presents to members the draft Statement of Licensing Policy 2026 to 2031. The Council must publish a Statement of Licensing Policy and under Section 5 of the Act revise that policy at least every 5 years or whenever review is deemed necessary. The draft policy attached as Appendix 1 reflects a number of minor amendments incorporated from best practice and government guidance, and all amendments to policy are set out in red. It has been brought to my attention that information and statistics at page 69, Appendix 1 of the policy, are out of date. That information will be updated before consultation and before the final policy is published. We must also consider any consultation responses when considering our final policy, and so members are asked to agree the draft policy and delegate authority to officers to undertake an 8-week consultation. The outcome of the consultation will be brought back to members in September to determine whether any further adjustments are required to be made to policy prior to its adoption by full council in October and taking effect on the 6th of January 26. Thank you.
If any visiting member, was no visiting member, if any member wishes to propose a motion or amend the current one, ask for a seconder. Does anybody wish to ask a question? I have one. But,
I just wanted to ask for some clarification on some of the wording. I think it was in on page 49. It talks about expecting licence holders to comply with any requirements in relation to
all the different kind of ways in which women and girls can be protected when they're out, such as the pub watch and Ask Angela, what have you. I just wanted some clarification on the word expect. Is there any way of monitoring or, I don't know, enforcing, I guess, what licensed establishments do in regard to these different schemes for protecting women and girls on a night out?
So to make something legally enforceable, it would need to be a condition of a premises licence or another authorisation. If it was appropriate and proportionate on any particular circumstances for any particular licence, and there was an application before them, then a licensing subcommittee could impose an appropriate, an enforceable condition relating to, it might be staff training or something like that. In the absence of a condition on the licence, then it's not legally enforceable, but of course the policy would be an appropriate place for the licensing authority to set out its expectations, and any business that isn't sort of acting in the best interests of vulnerable people in the nighttime economy is likely to come under some form of, I don't want to say enforcement, because it would depend on the circumstances. But there may be implications or something arising from that. But as far as the policy goes, you can't legally enforce the provisions of this within the policy.
May I ask a question? I understand regarding Appendix A that those figures will be updated regarding the violence against a person. Will you be also recording separately violence against girls and women?
If I can get the information, if it's available, yes.
I believe that when I looked on your website, when I searched for it, it was available. So,
Yes, Chair, we've asked for that information from the Community Protection team.
and that will be added to this appendix. Yeah. Okay. Councillor English.
Yeah, at top of page 49 in relation to the Ask Angela situation, there has been some media coverage of the fact that companies tend to carry out an initial induction of staff in relation to Ask Angela and its lesser known male counterpart, Ask Clive. Yeah, but that there is very limited follow-up and knowledge amongst staff as they remain in the profession. Now, this is a policy document and not a licensing application, so there are limitations on what we can do. But in terms of trying to promote ongoing staff monitoring of their knowledge of the situation, perhaps we could think about reflecting that that if we're expecting them to do it, we don't mean just an initial induction and then they forget about it, but there is an ongoing process of making sure that people are reminded of this and how it should work. And so I just think that we need to think about that wording in terms of how we could perhaps encourage that.
Thank you. I would certainly support that, but whether it be in this document or others, would you like to comment upon that?
It is an interesting debate, and you're quite right that bar staff are probably amongst one of the most transitory forms of employment. There is a debate going on at the moment, and that was one of the discussions I was having with the Community Protection team, was about how they keep that message fresh in everyone's mind, but also what alternatives there are to the Ask Angela initiative to make sure that people are able to get the assistance that they need at the right time.
If I could just follow that up, you're saying they're having discussions. I mean, perhaps putting this in this policy isn't quite the right approach, but it needs to be followed up somewhere, because as it stands, it's very much a box ticking exercise, and the box gets ticked once. You know, the merit of box ticking exercise is when they're done regularly, insofar as they exist. So I think we need to, if we're not going to amend the policy now, I would like this committee to be updated on the progress of those discussions and what comes out of them and what we can do, whether it's through licensing or the community safety unit, to actually encourage that. So can I ask for further information to come back on what we can do to support?
Can I have your comments on that?
I was just saying that obviously all premises, when they become licensed, are risk assessed as to what degree of visit they require. And the shortest period of time is 6 months. So every 6 months an officer may go, I mean, and 18 months is the longest. So depending on what the risk is envisaged for that premises, that's the degree of visit we would do. So obviously we would check training, but 18 months is a bit of a long period to check whether or not they've trained staff in Ask Angela. So, yeah.
That's why I was asking Mr. Littlemore to bring us up to date when he can on the progress of other discussions, whether it's through this committee or through overview and scrutiny sitting as the Crime and Disorder Partnership Committee. Don't really care as long as we have an update and we can see press for progress on this point.
What appears to be is that, if I'm correct in what you're saying, is we can't insist upon anybody, any establishment, using Ask Angela. That's not, we cannot build that into our licensing regime. We can encourage. Is that correct? Then
yeah, it's correct, but I think it's fair to say that we do have a nighttime economy forum, and there is very good buy-in for this initiative. I think the BBC did an expose of it recently and just highlighted the concerns that have been raised. So it is an ongoing process, and so we're continuously looking at how we engage with those premises to make sure the message is right, but also to look at alternatives. So yeah, we're quite happy to come back and update on that.
Councillor Springett.
I was just wondering, we test minicabs that they don't pick up passengers that haven't been pre-booked, and we test by sending young people into newsagents to make sure they can't buy an age-restricted item. Could we not randomly send some women into bars and say, "Is Angela here?" and see what the reaction is? Just a thought, or perhaps we'll mention that to the Nighttime Economy team that we might be doing it, and then I'm sure they'll publicise the process. Just a thought.
And on the face of it, sounds like a very sensible thought. It does bring into question things like RIPA, which is all about covert surveillance and directed surveillance, and there's hoops to jump through before you can do that. So it's not as easy as just asking a member of the team to, yeah.
Councillor Baldock.
Just in relation to what you were saying about the bar staff receiving ongoing training regarding Ask Angela, I'm really pleased to see the addition of the spiking awareness. But again, what ongoing training? How can we ensure that staff have received that ongoing training? Because we hear anecdotally so much that bar staff, bouncers, just assume that women just had far too much to drink and then just chuck them out of the establishments, when actually, you know, the reality is more likely to be that they have been, you know, or at least the consideration should be given that they've had their drink spiked, rather than just that they just can't handle their drink or that they've drunk too much. Thank you.
So can I have a proposer for accepting this with the amendments as outlined? Is that agreed by the council? Thank you. Committee, beg your pardon. Hackney Carriage Private Hire Licensing Policy Medical Certificates. This report will be introduced by Panel Bamfra, Head of Licensing. Note, if members wish to propose a motion or amend, let me know after you've heard from Sharon. Over to you. Sharon, sorry. Thank you.
It's okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair. Right, before you report where I am proposing that we just do a minor change to the existing taxi policy, and it's to seek your authorisation to go out to consultation. It will mainly be with the trade because that's who it will affect. And the reason that we're doing this is, if you'll see in the report that we used to have the policy used to say what I'm proposing it is changed back to where if you were over 45 you had to supply a medical certificate every 3 years. It would be on renewal because the licenses last for 3 years. And what happened was the last time the policy went through its like what I'd call big normal review, in 2021 the trade fed back because of the effects of pandemic and how decimated that trade had been, the taxi trade, that they were, looking for something a little bit that would be more helpful towards them, and they were asking, could you relax the requirements for the medical certificates a bit from what it was. That got support at the time from the members of this committee, and therefore it was changed to be in a different way, sort of aligned with the DVLA requirements for bus drivers. But what that meant was that we were asking for a certificate for over 45s for every 5 years. Now, what that means is that the requirement for the medical certificate is out of sync with the renewal process and is causing additional work every month just for Maidstone, because they have to maintain a list, cross-reference that against all the renewals that are coming up, and then pick out the ones who are not really, not the renewal licenses, but actually the medical certificate renewal refresh, and then do extra work to do all of that. And we've had 4 years of that, and basically I'm coming back to say, can we put it back to what it was now? Because it's more streamlined, more efficient that way. But also, the reality is that the majority of taxi drivers are providing a medical certificate on renewal anyway from Maidstone. It's not that they're not doing it regardless. So I would be hopeful that it isn't going to actually cost them more money than what it does now if they're already kind of doing it. And I'd just like the policy to go back in line with how it used to be. And so this is to put that proposal out to consultation and see what comes back from the trade. Happy to take any questions.
Councillor Springer.
Thank you. I note on page 80, in 2.3, it says that for information, Swale and Tunbridge Wells require a medical for initial application and all renewals on public safety grounds. And I just wondered, had we not considered doing the same, because we're applying a different standard? I mean, on the next page, page 82, it refers about diabetes. So we're relying on the honesty of drivers to tell us if they have diabetes when they're under 45. So I just wondered whether any consideration had been given to requiring that certificate on a initial application and renewal regardless of age.
I considered it when I was putting together this report and looking at the policy, but I kind of thought it might be a bridge too far from where we are now to then go suddenly everybody has to do a medical certificate on application in every 3 years, as opposed to just over 45s. I'd be more than open to having the same across the board, but I suspect the trade would maybe find that a bit too much to take. But open to it. Let's see what comes back. Should you approve it?
You got any further comments? Any further proposals? Amendments? Then I wish to move that we propose the recommendations. Do I have a seconder for that? Are we agreed? Now declare this meeting closed. Join. Hold on.
Oh, there they are. Just need to sign that now.
Oh, I see.